Greetings in Jesus' wonderful name, and welcome to Riverside Chats. I begin a new series today on the Apostle John. He was first called the disciple John. He was the son of Zebedee, the brother of James. Now, don't confuse John the apostle, the son of Zebedee, with John the Baptist. John the Baptist was the son of Zacharias and Elizabeth. He was related to Jesus Christ in flesh, in his humanity. You remember, Mary and Elizabeth were cousins. But this is John, the son of Salome and Zebedee. They might have been related to Jesus, I don't know. We're going to look at who he was and why it does matter who he was. John was a good man. He was an average-looking man. He was very close to Jesus. Now, there's some people who are sick and they'd look at this and say, well, Jesus had same-sex relationships. There's nothing to indicate that in the scriptures. These were his disciples, his followers. And John was particularly fond of Jesus. He was fond of Jesus because he loved the teachings of Jesus. Like Mary, John sat at Jesus' feet. As we look at John, like I said, he could have been an average-looking man, had a manly beard about him. He was rugged on the outside, but yet was very soft on the inside. I'm sure he could cry easily. But he was a man's man. He was a strong man. We learn that John, the son of Zebedee, grew up in the northern part of Israel. He was born in a small fishing village called Bethsaida. As already mentioned, his father's name was Zebedee, and his mom's name was Salome. Now, some people think this Salome was sister to Mary of Nazareth. There were many Marys in the Bible. One is Mary Magdalene, from whom Jesus cast out 7 demons. Then there was Mary, the mother of Jesus. Then there was Mary, the sister of Martha and Lazarus from Bethany. There was Mary, John Mark's mother. Lots of Marys, and none of them were contrary. That was meant to be a joke if you were wondering what I was saying. So his mother's name was Salome. Evidence of that is found in Matthew 27 and 56. I'm just sharing some background with you today. In Hebrew, his father's name would be pronounced something like this: Yohanan ben Zabdi. And it was translated John, the son of Zebedee. He was called John for short. The Bible tells us that he had an older brother whose name was James. James, John, and Peter were in the inner circle of Jesus' disciples. They were present with Jesus on more special occasions than the others. Like at the Transfiguration, there was Peter, James, and John. The business was flourishing. They were fishermen on the Sea of Galilee. They caught freshwater tilapia. I remember when I visited Israel, I had a good time. I remember the first day we went, there was a buffet so full of food. You didn't know where to start, and I kind of enjoyed it. But I'm Indian, and I love a lot of spice, so I'm used to Indian food. If you're Indian, then all your taste buds are open to its fullest capacity. But Jewish people put some kind of seasoning in the food that is kind of constant. Oh, it was good food. It was clean, well presented. I ate it the first day. I ate it the second day, the third day. By the fourth day, I didn't want to look at any food. I just longed for regular food that I'm used to. American food, Indian food that I'm used to. I remember we had gone to the Sea of Galilee. And for the first time we were there, and they served us fresh tilapia from the Sea of Galilee and chips. Now, we were divided into different buses that we had gone to. So we were with our bus all the time, so we got to know the people. I went with a large ministry. And I became good friends, and some of the people didn't like fish so much. And they had known that I had not eaten for days after that, because all I ate was boiled eggs and a slice of bread. And I enjoyed the tilapia, the fish and chips, like I never ate anything good as that before, because I had not eaten well for several days. And then some of the ladies, they came and gave me their fish. And so I loaded down and enjoyed my meal very much. After that, the food was not bad. Most of this was in Jerusalem when we were there but once we came to the Sea of Galilee and all of that, the whole food and everything was different. There's good tilapia on the Sea of Galilee. I remember as we were on the Sea of Galilee, the leader of our group asked me to pray on the waters. And I prayed. And I thought how Jesus must have prayed. The disciples must have prayed on the lake. The boat was crafted to look like very much how it looked in Jesus' day. It's called the Sea of Tiberias. It's a fresh water lake. Now, Zebedee was a wealthy man. He had made and cultivated a lucrative, a very profitable business from the Sea of Galilee. We know he was somewhat wealthy from references like Mark 1 and 20, Luke 5 and 3, and John 19 and 27. He was hoping that his sons, James and John, would take over the business. He taught them well. They were hard-working men, and they were fishermen. Peter was also a fisherman, so they could have known each other by their work on the Sea of Galilee. What was John doing when he was not fishing? He was, I believe, at a place called Bet Sharim, or otherwise known as the House of Life. Essentially, it was a small room attached to the synagogue where he would learn from the Jewish priest. He would be taught the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of Moses in the Bible. Occasionally, he would be taught from the Psalms. He would also study the Hebrew language in order to read and write. Now, this was essential training for John, for John would be the author of several books in the Bible. He would write the Gospel of John, and his Gospel is so essential because the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, I believe, use Peter uses Peter as the primary source. Although Luke writes the Gospel of Luke, but Peter is very important in the eyewitness accounts. But John gives his own eyewitness account because he was there with Jesus many times. He was there more than some of the other disciples were. But Peter was everywhere where he was. There was a good relationship between Peter and John. There is no record of any animosity or any squabble between them. Now, John was Jewish, and they were referred to as people of the book. They were practicing Jews, practiced all the feasts and all of that. They were glad to be in their homeland, Israel. The Romans were now in power. They didn't mind that so much because they were in the homeland. Although the Romans occupied their land and they hated the Romans also gave them a sense of protection. I shared with you as a means of introduction concerning John the Apostle. He was the son of Zebedee. He was the brother of James. His mother's name was Salome. His father's name was Zebedee. He was a fisherman, mainly catching tilapia, freshwater tilapia, on the Sea of Galilee, or sometimes called the Lake of Gennesareth. His dad was a wealthy man, I said. He hoped that his sons would take over the business. John was Jewish. He studied the Old Testament scriptures intensely. He would be present at a place called Bet Sharim, the House of Life, that was attached to the small synagogue they attended, where he would learn from the books of Moses and from some of the Psalms. Jesus would call him and his brother to be his followers, to be his disciples. John would later pen the Gospel of John, which I shared already. He's author of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, and he is author of the Revelation. He was also pastor at the church of Ephesus for a long time after the resurrection of Jesus. In these coming days, we're going to look at John in detail, his contribution to Christianity, and what he means for the kingdom of God. God bless you and love ya.